Okay, one of the most famous biblical characters of the Old Testament is King Solomon. He is the son of King David, and his story is told twice in the Bible. It's told in, I think, 2 Kings, and then again in Chronicles. Both of their stories are, in fact. Solomon is always touted as having this unbelievable wisdom and how great everything is, when how happy everybody is, and just how the Queen of Sheba comes to him and tells him how magnificent everything is and how smart he is. So this goes on and on throughout quite a number of pages and books of the Bible. So after reigning for about 40 years, in the second telling of his story, he dies. And his son, named Rehoboam, takes the throne. So when each character leaves the biblical text, I do a summary of that person's ethical worth. I don't wait until the end of the book. I just do it when they leave the text. So here is exactly what I think of King Solomon. First of all, the Bible notes that the rest of Solomon's acts that aren't written in the Bible are contained in the book of Nathan, which doesn't actually exist anywhere. Or at least they've never known of a copy. So we sure as hell can't check there, can we? The big question that begs asking is, where in either one of the versions of Solomon's stories is this supposed wisdom we always keep hearing about? Just so you know, there wasn't a single example of any sage advice, moral rectitude, ethical superiority, or scholarly intelligence in any of his tales. He never once said to show love, generosity, or fairness to anyone, nor did he ever give a dime of his wealth to any poor or needy person. Only he gave some money to the wealthy Queen of Sheba when she came to visit. The second version of his life omits the crimes he committed in the earlier one, which a wise man who supposedly was given that wisdom by God would know not to do, including murdering his own brother and two other guys who challenged his power, threatening to slice a baby in half, and kissing pagan butt on the advice of a bunch of hussies. There is no inclusion in the second story of his bastard child Hadad, or God taking away his kingdom because he started worshiping false idols. His unethically taking 700 wives and housing 300 prostitutes represents 94.6% of his actions out of a grand total of 1,064, which includes a short book called The Song of Solomon later on. He committed 3 murders, made 2 death threats, promoted slavery and attempted infanticide once each, and made 7 ridiculous statements, including his belief that dreams are messages from God. He was also a hypocrite 3 times. He's looked on as benevolent in the Bible. However, if he just happened to be on the throne during an era of peace, and therefore wasn't tyrannical by comparison, that's not really any credit due him. All we hear about in the Bible is how much he spends on his buildings. The people of that era, much like shallow people of today, were so dazzled by wealth that they confused its splendor with greatness. I've got news. Gold-colored furniture doesn't make someone good or wise. It only makes them rich and incredibly tacky. His behavior is simply an earlier version of such royals as Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, and we all know what happened to them after a lifetime of draining the peasantry out of their money. So, in conclusion, when anyone asks, what is the wisdom of Solomon? All you have to do is cross out 2 words from that question to achieve the appropriate response, which is, what wisdom of Solomon?